Park Tae-won adjusted his translator earpiece and tried not to yawn. The diplomatic dinner had been going on for 3 hours, and his feet hurt from standing. His job was simple. Listen to the aliens talk, make sure the translation software worked properly, and step in when cultural misunderstandings happened. Tonight, the Valorian hegemony had sent representatives to the Galactic Trade Station. The Valorians were one of the most powerful species in the known galaxy. They were tall, with silver-gray skin and sharp features. They moved with perfect grace, spoke with cold precision, and looked at other species the way humans looked at insects. Tae-won had dealt with many alien species in his 5 years as a translator. The Valorians were the worst, not because they were cruel, but because they were so completely unimpressed by everything. The dinner hall was filled with human officials and Valorian diplomats. Commander Bae Sung-ho sat at the head of the human table, trying to make conversation with the Valorian delegation leader. The Valorian answered in short, flat sentences. He showed no interest in human food, human culture, or human anything. Tae-won stood near the wall with his friend Kim Yuna. She worked as a cultural liaison officer, which meant she studied alien customs and warned humans when they were about to do something stupid. "This is painful to watch," Yuna whispered. "At least the food is good," Tae-won said. He had managed to grab a few pieces of grilled meat before taking his position. "You're always thinking about food." "Food doesn't judge me." Yuna smiled, but then her expression changed. She nodded toward the far end of the Valorian table. "She's looking at you again?" Tae-won followed her gaze. At the end of the table sat a Valorian woman. She was younger than the others, though it was hard to tell age with Valorians. Her silver skin seemed smoother, and her dark eyes held something the others lacked. Curiosity, maybe? Or amusement? Her name was Velira of House Soran. Tae-won had read about her in the briefing files. She was the youngest daughter of one of the most powerful families in the hegemony. The files said she was a diplomat in training, here to observe and learn. She had been observing Tae-won all night. "She's probably studying human servants," Tae-won said, "seeing how the lower species behave. You're not a servant. To them, everyone is." One of the older Valorians made a comment about human architecture. He said it was crude and showed a lack of mathematical understanding. The human officials smiled politely and said nothing. Tae-won felt his jaw tighten. He had seen the stations humans built. They were beautiful in their own way, but there was no point in arguing. Velira did not join the conversation. She simply watched. Her eyes moved from human to human, studying their faces, their gestures, their reactions. When her gaze landed on Tae-won again, he felt it like a physical touch. He looked away. "Seriously," Yuna said, "that's the 5th time. What did you do?" "Nothing. I've been standing here eating meat." Maybe she's never seen someone enjoy food so much. Then she should get out more. The dinner continued. More polite conversation that meant nothing. More Valorian comments about human limitations. More patient smiles from Commander Bae. Tae-won watched Velira without looking directly at her. She never smiled. She never frowned. Her face was perfectly neutral, like a statue, but her eyes were alive. They moved constantly, taking in everything. "I read that Valorians choose their partners through formal contracts," Yuna said quietly. "Very logical, no emotions involved. Sounds romantic. They consider human courtship rituals primitive." "Of course they do." Yuna was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "She's really pretty, though, in an intimidating, might-kill-you kind of way." Tae-won snorted. "Sure. Maybe she wants to marry me. I'd say yes if she proposed." It was a stupid joke. The kind of thing he said to make Yuna laugh and make himself feel less small in a room full of aliens who thought humans were barely worth noticing. Yuna did laugh. "You'd be the first human to marry into Valorian nobility. They'd make a documentary about you? I'd want final approval on the editing. They both smiled. The moment passed. Taewon reached for another piece of meat. He did not know that Valorians had hearing far beyond human capability. He did not know that Valira had heard every word from across the room. He did not know that in Valorian culture, a spoken offer of partnership, even in jest, carried weight. The dinner ended an hour later. The Valorians stood in unison like they had practiced it. Probably they had. They said their formal goodbyes and moved toward the exit. Taewon stayed at his position, waiting for the room to clear. His feet really hurt now. He wanted to go back to his quarters, take off his shoes, and watch something stupid on his screen. The Valorians filed past. They did not look at him. He was invisible to them, just another human in the background. Then Valira approached. She walked with the same perfect grace as the others, but she moved slightly slower. As she passed Taewon, she turned her head just a few degrees. Her dark eyes met his. She did not stop walking, but as she passed, close enough that he could have touched her, she spoke. Her voice was quiet, meant only for him. She spoke in Korean, perfect, flawless Korean. Then agree. 2 words. Then she was past him, joining the other Valorians, walking out of the hall without looking back. Taewon stood frozen. His heart pounded in his chest. His mind tried to process what had just happened. Yuna appeared at his side. "What's wrong? You look like you saw a ghost." He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. "Taewon." "She heard me," he said. His voice sounded strange to his own ears. "She heard what I said, and she told me to agree." Yuna stared at him. "Agree to what?" He turned to look at the doorway where Valira had disappeared. His joke. His stupid, meaningless joke about saying yes if she proposed. "I think," he said slowly, "I might be in trouble." The doorway was empty. The Valorians were gone. But Valira's words hung in the air like smoke. Then agree. Taewon had made many jokes in his life. He had never had one come back to challenge him like this. He had a feeling his life was about to get very complicated. Taewon did not sleep that night. He lay in his bed and stared at the ceiling, replaying those 2 words over and over. Then agree. Maybe he had imagined it. Maybe his translator earpiece had glitched. Maybe she had said something else entirely, and his tired brain had twisted it into something strange. But she had spoken in Korean. Perfect Korean, without any accent. That was not a translation error. By morning, Taewon had convinced himself he was overreacting. Valira was probably mocking him. Valorians had a reputation for cold humor that other species rarely understood. She had heard his joke and decided to play with the foolish human. That was all. He showered, dressed, and prepared to go about his normal day. He would translate documents. He would attend briefings. He would forget about the silver-skinned woman with the dark eyes. Then his communication panel lit up with a priority message. It was an official summons. Valira of House Saran requested a private meeting with translator Park Taewon. Immediately. Taewon stared at the message for a long time. "This is fine," he said to his empty room. "Everything is fine." He went to the meeting room listed in the summons. It was in the diplomatic wing, a neutral space used for sensitive conversations. 2 Valorian guards stood outside the door. They looked at Taewon like he was a stain on the floor. "I was summoned," he said. One guard opened the door without a word. Taewon stepped inside. The room was simple. A table, 2 chairs, soft lighting. Valira stood by the window looking out at the stars. She wore a long, dark robe that made her silver skin seem to glow. She turned when he entered. Her face was as neutral as it had been at the dinner. "Translator Park, thank you for coming. I didn't think I had a choice." "You always have a choice. That is what makes this interesting." She gestured for him to sit. He did. She remained standing for a moment, studying him the way she had studied everyone at the dinner. Then she sat across from him. "You are confused," she said. It was not a question. "A little. I will explain." She folded her hands on the table. "Among my people, words carry weight. We do not say things we do not mean. When a Valorian makes a statement of intent, it is considered binding. I'm not Valorian. No, but I heard your words, and I am Valorian. That creates an obligation. For me." Taewon felt his stomach drop. "It was a joke. I didn't mean—" "I know." Something flickered in her eyes. "Human humor. You say things you do not mean to create amusement. It is a strange custom. We find it relaxing. I find it fascinating." She leaned forward slightly. "When you said you would agree if I proposed, your friend laughed. But you did not laugh. Your voice was light, but your eyes were not. I have studied humans for 2 years. I have learned to read your faces. You meant what you said, even if you did not know it." Taewon wanted to argue, but the words stuck in his throat. He remembered saying the joke. He remembered Yuna laughing. He remembered looking at Valera and feeling something he could not name. "I have 2 options," Valera continued. "I can declare your words an insult to my house. This would require a formal response. It would damage relations between humans and the hegemony. There would be consequences." "That seems extreme." "We are an extreme people." She paused. "My second option is to accept the offer, to take you as a partner. This would require your agreement, freely given." The room was very quiet. Taewon could hear his own heartbeat. "You want to marry me?" he said slowly. "Because of a joke I made at a dinner party?" "I want to explore the possibility. There is a difference." "Why?" The question seemed to surprise her. For a moment, her neutral mask slipped. Something real showed through, something almost vulnerable. Then it was gone. "I have spent 2 years among other species," she said, "studying them, learning their ways. Most species are predictable. They act according to logic or instinct. Humans are different. You are illogical. You are emotional. You make decisions that serve no clear purpose. You tell jokes when you are nervous. You smile when you are sad. You fight when you cannot win." That doesn't sound like a compliment. "It is an observation." She held his gaze. "Last night, I watched your people sit through 3 hours of insults. My colleagues called your architecture crude, your food primitive, your culture simple. Your leaders smiled and said nothing. But you, standing in the corner, eating your meat, you were angry. I could see it. Yet you did not speak, you did not act. You made jokes with your friend instead. What else could I do? Nothing. That is my point. You had no power in that room, no status, no way to fight back. So you found another way. You used humor to keep your dignity. You bent without breaking." She tilted her head. "My people do not bend. We are strong, but we are brittle. I have always wondered if there is another way." Taewon did not know what to say. He had expected threats or mockery. He had not expected this. "You have 3 days to decide," Valera said. "If you refuse, I will tell my people that I found your words unworthy of response. There will be no insult, no consequences. We will pretend this never happened. And if I agree, then we will be contracted. You will become part of House Soran. You will have status, protection, and access to resources most humans cannot imagine." She paused. "You will also have enemies. My family is powerful, but we are not loved. There are those who will see this as weakness." "Like who?" "Like my brother." Her voice cooled. "Kyldon is the eldest son. He believes humans are beneath us. He will do everything in his power to stop this." Taewon thought about this. A marriage alliance with a Valorian noble house. Political enemies who wanted him dead. A woman he did not know asking him to change his entire life. "This is insane," he said. "Yes, I'm just a translator. You are a human who caught my attention. That is rare." He looked at her. She looked back. Neither of them blinked. 3 days, he said. 3 days. He stood to leave. At the door, he stopped and turned back. "Why Korean?" he asked. "Last night you spoke to me in Korean. How did you know?" For the first time, Valera smiled. It was small, barely a curve of her lips, but it changed her entire face. She looked almost human. "I told you," she said. "I have studied your people for 2 years. I know more about you than you think." Park Tae-won. He left the room with more questions than answers. 3 days to decide if he would agree to the strangest proposal in human history. His life had definitely gotten complicated. Tae-won went straight to Commander Bae Sung-ho's office. He did not know what else to do. This was too big for him to handle alone. The commander listened to the whole story without interrupting. His face went through several expressions: confusion, disbelief, concern, and finally, something that looked like careful calculation. "Let me understand this," Commander Bae said when Tae-won finished. "A daughter of House Saran, one of the most powerful families in the Valorian hegemony, has proposed a marriage alliance with you, a translator." She didn't exactly propose. "She told me to agree to a proposal I didn't make. But the result is the same." "I guess so." Commander Bae leaned back in his chair. He was quiet for a long moment. Tae-won knew that look. The commander was thinking about politics, about strategy, about what this could mean for humanity's position in the galaxy. "Do you know what this could do for us?" the commander said finally. "A formal alliance with House Saran would change everything. Trade agreements, technology sharing, military cooperation. Humans have been trying to get the Valorians to take us seriously for decades. This could be the door we've been looking for." Tae-won felt something cold in his stomach. "So you want me to do it, for political reasons?" "I want you to consider the bigger picture." Commander Bae's voice was careful. "But I won't order you to marry someone. That's not my place. This has to be your choice." "What if I say no?" "Then we go back to slow negotiations and polite dinners where they insult us for 3 hours. The commander shrugged. "We survive either way. We've been surviving." Tae-won nodded. He appreciated that the commander was not forcing him. But he could feel the weight of expectation, the hope that he would do the right thing for humanity. The problem was, he did not know what the right thing was. He left the commander's office and found Yuna waiting in the hallway. She grabbed his arm and pulled him into a side corridor. "I heard," she said. "Everyone's heard. The whole station is talking about it." "Great. Is it true? She actually asked you to marry her?" "More or less." Yuna stared at him. "Tae-won, this is huge. This is the biggest thing to happen to human-Valorian relations in 50 years. "I know. What are you going to do?" "I don't know." She looked at him with sympathy. Yuna had known him for 6 years. She knew how he handled pressure. He made jokes, he deflected, he pushed things away. But this could not be pushed away. "There's something else," she said. Her voice dropped lower. "Kaeldon arrived this morning. He brought a ship with a full military escort." Tae-won felt his chest tighten. Valera had warned him about her brother. "He requested an immediate meeting with station leadership," Yuna continued. "He's in with the commander right now." "Right now? I just left the commander's office." "He went in right after you left. Tae-won, I looked up Kaeldon's record. He's not just her brother. He's the heir to House Soren. He controls their military forces, and he has a reputation." "What kind of reputation?" Yuna hesitated. "People who get in his way disappear. Problems get solved. Permanently." Taewon leaned against the wall. This morning he had been a simple translator. Now he was caught between a Valorian noblewoman who wanted to marry him and her powerful brother, who probably wanted him dead. "I need to talk to Valera," he said. "Are you sure that's a good idea?" "No, but I need to know what I'm dealing with." He found Valera in the diplomatic wing's garden. It was a small space with artificial plants and a simulated sky, but it was quiet and private. She sat on a bench, looking at the fake flowers with an expression he could not read. "Your brother is here," Taewon said. "I know." She did not look up. "He came to stop this." "Can he?" "He can try." Now she looked at him. "Kaeldon does not understand why I would consider a human. To him you are all the same, weak, emotional, primitive." Sounds like a great guy. "He is a product of our culture. We are raised to believe that strength is everything. Physical strength, mental strength, political strength. Humans have none of these things. Therefore, humans have no value." Taewon sat on the bench, leaving space between them. "But you don't believe that." "I believe strength comes in many forms." She was quiet for a moment. "I have watched humans do impossible things. I have seen humans run into fire to save strangers. I have seen humans stand up for people they have never met. I have seen humans laugh in the face of death. None of this makes sense. But it is powerful. It is a different kind of power. We call it being stupid. You call it many things: bravery, compassion, hope." She looked at him. "I do not have these things. My people do not have them. But I wonder if we need them." Taewon did not know what to say. He had never heard a Valorian talk like this. He had never imagined they could. "Kaeldon will demand that I reject you," Valera said. "He will say you manipulated me, tricked me, used human deception to trap a Valorian noble. He will call for punishment." "Did I manipulate you?" "No, but that does not matter. What matters is what he can make others believe. So what do we do?" Valera stood. She walked a few steps away, then turned back. For the first time, she looked uncertain. "I do not know," she admitted. "I have planned many things in my life. I have calculated outcomes and prepared for variables. But this is different. You are different." She paused. "I did not expect to care whether you agreed." Taewon blinked. "You care? Does that surprise you?" "Honestly? Yes." Something shifted in her expression. It might have been amusement. It might have been pain. It was hard to tell. "Among my people, I am considered defective," she said. "I feel too much. I question too much. I see value where others see nothing. Kaeldon calls it weakness. Perhaps he is right. Or perhaps he's wrong." She looked at him. Really looked, the way she had at the dinner. But this time it felt different. It felt like she was not just studying him. She was hoping. "When I heard your joke," she said softly, "I heard something real beneath it. I heard someone who notices things others miss. Someone who finds light in dark rooms. I want to know if I was right about you." Taewon stood. He stepped closer to her, close enough to see his own reflection in her dark eyes. "I'm just a translator," he said. "I'm not brave. I'm not special. I make jokes because I don't know what else to do." "That," Valera said, "is exactly why I chose you." Before he could respond, the door to the garden opened. A Valorian guard stepped in. "Lady Valera, High Arbiter Kaeldon demands your presence. Immediately." Valera's expression went cold again. The mask returned. "It begins," she said to Taewon. Then she walked away, following the guard. Taewon stood alone in the garden of fake flowers, feeling like he had just stepped off a cliff. He had 2 days left to decide, but he was starting to realize the decision had already been made. He called a formal assembly in the station's main hall. Both human and Valorian officials attended. Taewon stood in the back with Yuna, watching the silver-skinned aliens file in with perfect precision. Kaeldon was easy to spot. He was taller than the other Valorians, broader in the shoulders, with a face that looked like it had been carved from stone. He wore a military uniform decorated with symbols Taiwan did not recognize. Everything about him said power, authority, control. Valeira stood near her brother, but she did not look at him. Her face was the neutral mask again. Her hands were clasped in front of her. She looked like a prisoner. Commander Bay stood at the front of the human group, his expression calm but alert. He knew something was coming. Everyone knew. Kaeldon stepped forward and spoke. His voice was deep and cold. "I am Kaeldon of House Soran, High Arbiter of the Valorian hegemony. I have come to address a matter of honor." The room was silent. "It has come to my attention that a human on this station has made a claim on my sister. He has suggested a partnership between himself and Lady Valeira." Kaeldon's eyes swept the room until they found Taewon. "This human, Park Taewon." Taewon felt every eye in the room turn to him. Human and Valorian alike. He wanted to disappear. He stayed still. "Such a claim is irregular," Kaeldon continued. "Humans and Valorians have never joined in partnership. There is good reason for this. Humans are a young species, unproven. They have not earned the right to stand beside us." Commander Bay spoke up. "With respect, High Arbiter, Translator Park made no formal claim. It was a misunderstanding." "There is no misunderstanding." Kaeldon's voice hardened. "My sister heard his words and chose to consider them. The claim exists. The only question is whether this human is worthy of it." Silence again. "Therefore," Kaeldon said, "I invoke the ancient right, the challenge of worth." A murmur went through the Valorian ranks. Even some of them seemed surprised. "What is that?" Yuna whispered to Taewon. He shook his head. He did not know. Valeira stepped forward. "Brother, this is not necessary. The challenge has not been invoked in 200 years. Then it is past time." Kaeldon looked at her with something like contempt. "You wish to bind yourself to this human. Let him prove he deserves it. 3 trials. If he passes, I will withdraw my objection. If he fails, the claim is void, and you will return home to fulfill your proper duties." Valeira's jaw tightened. The trials were designed for Valorians. He cannot, then he will fail, and we will have our answer. Kaeldon turned back to the room. "Does the human accept the challenge?" Everyone looked at Taewon. He felt frozen. His heart was pounding. His mind raced through everything he knew about Valorians, about their culture, about their challenges. It was not much. He was not prepared for this. But he looked at Valeira. He saw what she was trying to hide behind her mask. Fear. Not for herself, but for him. She was afraid of what her brother would do to him. She had taken a risk by choosing him. She had stood against her own family, her own culture. And now Kaeldon was trying to crush her for it. Taewon stepped forward. "I accept," he said. The room buzzed. Yuna grabbed his arm, but he pulled away. Kaeldon smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. "Brave or foolish? We shall see which." After the assembly, Valeira found Taewon in the corridor. "Why did you do that?" Her voice was low and intense. "Do you understand what you agreed to? The trials could kill you." "Your brother wasn't going to back down. If I refused, he would have found another way to stop this. At least this way I have a chance." "You have no chance. The trial of endurance will put you in conditions your body cannot survive. The trial of mind will test you against puzzles designed for Valorian intelligence. The trial of combat—" She stopped. "Kaeldon will choose your opponent for the combat trial. He will choose himself." Taewon felt cold. "He wants to kill me personally." He wants to prove that humans are nothing. That I was foolish to consider you. That strength is all that matters. Velira's hands were shaking. Taewon had never seen her lose control before. I should never have spoken to you. I should have ignored your words and let it go. This is my fault. No. Taewon took her hands. Her skin was cool and smooth. She went still at his touch. You made a choice. You saw something in humans that your people don't see. That's not a mistake. That's courage. Courage is useless if you die. Maybe. But giving up without trying is worse. He squeezed her hands gently. I'm not going to let him win. I don't know how yet, but I'll figure it out. That's what humans do. Velira looked at him. Her dark eyes searched his face like she was looking for something. Hope, maybe, or proof that she had not made a terrible mistake. Why? She asked. Why would you do this? You could walk away. You could go back to your life. No one would blame you. Taewon thought about it. He thought about his quiet job, his small room, his routine days. He thought about standing in corners at diplomatic dinners, being invisible, being nothing. He thought about the way Velira had looked at him, like he mattered. Because you asked me to, he said, and because maybe I'm tired of being nobody. Velira was quiet for a long moment. Then she did something unexpected. She leaned forward and pressed her forehead against his. It was gentle, almost careful, like she was not sure how to do it. This is a Valorian gesture, she said softly. It means trust. It means I put my life in your hands. Then I'll try not to drop it. She pulled back. There was something new in her expression. It might have been hope. The first trial is tomorrow, she said. The trial of endurance. You will be placed in a chamber that simulates our homeworld's environment. High gravity, extreme heat. Most humans would collapse in minutes. Most humans haven't been trained by my grandmother. Velira frowned. Your grandmother? She survived some hard times back on Earth. She always said the same thing. Don't break, bend, wait, outlast. That is not a Valorian philosophy. No, it's a human one. He did not know if it would be enough. He did not know if anything would be enough. But it was what he had. Tomorrow he would find out if a human could endure what a Valorian could. Tomorrow the trials would begin. He spent the night preparing his mind. He thought about his grandmother. He thought about every hard thing he had ever survived. He thought about Velira's face when she pressed her forehead to his. He was not strong. He was not fast. He was not smart enough to beat Valorians at their own games. But he was human, and humans did not give up. Maybe that would be enough. Maybe. Taewon walked through the corridors surrounded by Valorian guards. The ship was beautiful in a cold way. Everything was smooth metal and sharp angles. No decoration, no warmth. It felt like walking through a weapon. The trial chamber was in the lower decks. It was a large room with viewing windows along one wall. Behind the windows, Valorian officials had gathered to watch. Kaeldon stood at the center, his arms crossed. Velira was beside him, her face the neutral mask again. Commander Bay had come too, along with Yuna. They stood apart from the Valorians, looking worried. A Valorian technician explained the rules. Taewon would enter the chamber. The conditions would simulate the Valorian homeworld. Gravity would be twice Earth normal. Temperature would reach 50 degrees Celsius. Oxygen levels would drop. A Valorian could survive these conditions for half a day. The minimum time to pass the trial was 1 hour. The human may withdraw at any time, the technician said. Simply speak the word and the trial ends. And if he doesn't speak, Kaeldon asked, smiling slightly. Then we monitor his vitals. If he loses consciousness or his body begins to fail, we end the trial. Pity. Taewon ignored him. He focused on the chamber. It was just a room, just heat and weight. He had survived heat before. He had carried heavy things before. He could do this. He stripped off his jacket and stepped into the chamber. The door sealed behind him. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the gravity began to increase. It came slowly at first. He felt heavier. His legs worked harder. His shoulders drooped. Then it kept increasing, and suddenly it felt like someone had put a sack of stones on his back. He dropped to his knees. Outside, he heard sounds. Maybe laughter. He could not tell. The heat came next. It rolled over him like a wave. His skin began to sweat. His lungs felt tight. The air was thick and wrong. 1 hour. He just had to survive 1 hour. He thought about his grandmother. She had lived through things he could barely imagine. War, hunger, loss. She had been small and thin and old by the time he knew her, but there was iron in her. She had taught him to be patient, to wait out the storm. "Don't break," he whispered. "Bend. Wait." He lay flat on the floor. It was easier than kneeling. He spread his weight out, let the gravity press him down. He breathed slowly, carefully. 10 minutes passed. 20. 30. The heat was terrible now. He felt like he was being cooked. Sweat poured off him. His heart pounded in his ears. The Valorians watched. Some looked bored. Others looked curious. Kaeldon looked impatient. "He should have quit by now," someone said. But Taiwan did not quit. He lay on the floor and breathed. He thought about cool water. He thought about snow. He thought about anything except the fire in his skin. 45 minutes. "His heart rate is elevated," the technician reported, "but stable." Kaeldon frowned. 50 minutes. Taiwan's vision was blurring. The edges of the room went soft. He felt like he was floating, even though the gravity was crushing him. "Almost there," he told himself. Almost. 55 minutes. His body wanted to quit. Every part of him screamed to say the word, end the trial, make it stop. But he thought about Velira standing outside. He thought about her pressing her forehead to his. He was not going to let her down. 1 hour. The chamber powered down. The gravity returned to normal. The heat faded. Cool air flooded in. Taiwan lay on the floor, unable to move. His body felt like it had been beaten, but he was alive. He had passed. The door opened. Medical personnel rushed in. They helped him up, checked his vitals, wrapped him in cooling blankets. Outside, the Valorians were silent. They had expected him to fail in minutes. He had lasted the full hour. Velira's mask had cracked. She looked at him with something like wonder. Kaeldon's face was stone. "The second trial," he said. "Tomorrow." The trial of mind. It was a game. Taiwan sat at a table across from a Valorian opponent. The game was called Castron. It involved patterns, strategy, predicting moves 15 steps ahead. It was designed for Valorian minds. Taiwan was not stupid, but he was no genius. He looked at the board and saw chaos. His opponent made the first move. Taiwan made a move at random. His opponent made another move. Taiwan picked a piece and moved it somewhere else. The Valorian frowned. The game continued. Taiwan lost pieces quickly. His position got worse and worse. The Valorians watching began to smile. This was what they expected. A human, outmatched and embarrassed. But Taiwan was not trying to win the way a Valorian would win. He was not calculating patterns. He was not planning ahead. He was doing something else entirely. He was being unpredictable. He made moves that made no sense. He sacrificed pieces for no gain. He attacked in directions that had no purpose. His opponent kept waiting for the strategy to reveal itself, but there was no strategy. It was random. It was human. The Valorian got frustrated. He expected logic and he got chaos. He started making mistakes, small ones at first, then bigger ones. He got angry. Taiwan stayed calm. He kept making strange moves. He kept the pressure up. The game ended with Taiwan ahead by 1 point. 1 point. Almost nothing. But it was enough. He cheated. his opponent said. He did not play correctly. There are no rules about how to play, the judge responded. Only rules about what moves are allowed. His moves were legal. Kaeldon looked at Tae-Wan. For the first time, there was something besides contempt in his eyes. Uncertainty, maybe. The third trial, Kaeldon said. Tomorrow. Tae-Wan knew what was coming. The trial of combat. Kaeldon had chosen himself as the opponent. That night, Velira came to see him. You cannot win the combat trial, she said. Kaeldon is a trained warrior. He has killed before. He will not hold back. I know. Then withdraw. You have passed 2 trials. That is more than anyone expected. More than enough to prove your worth. But not enough to change his mind. Not enough to make him accept this. Tae-Wan shook his head. If I quit now, he'll always say I was a coward. He'll always say humans are weak. He'll use it against you forever. I don't care what he says. Yes, you do. And so do I. Velira was quiet. Her hands were shaking again. I do not want you to die, she said. Her voice was barely a whisper. I did not expect this. I did not expect to care this much. Tae-Wan took her hands. Then I won't die. You cannot promise that. No, but I can promise I'll try. He did not sleep that night. He knew he could not beat Kaeldon in a fight. The Valorian was stronger, faster, better trained. But maybe he did not have to beat him. Maybe he just had to survive. Bend, wait, outlast. He thought about what Velira had said about humans. They run into fire to save strangers. They laugh in the face of death. Maybe that was the answer. Maybe the way to win was not to win at all. Maybe it was to be so human that even a Valorian could not ignore it. Tomorrow would tell. Tomorrow, he would face the High Arbiter of the Valorian hegemony in single combat. Tomorrow, he would probably die, but he would die standing up. The combat arena was a circular space in the center of Kaeldon's ship. The floor was polished black metal. The walls were lined with seats, filled with Valorian observers. This was an event now. Word had spread through the hegemony. A human was fighting for the right to marry a Valorian noble. Tae-Wan stood on one side of the arena. He wore simple clothes, nothing that would protect him. He had no weapons. The rules allowed fighters to choose their weapons, but he had no training with any of them. His hands would have to be enough. Kaeldon stood on the other side. He was enormous up close. He wore light armor and carried a metal staff. His face showed nothing. He looked at Tae-Wan like he was looking at an insect he was about to step on. Velira was in the stands. She looked calm, but Tae-Wan could see her hands gripping the railing. Commander Bay and Yuna were there too, surrounded by aliens who stared at them with cold curiosity. The judge stepped forward. The trial of combat. The fight continues until one combatant yields, loses consciousness, or is unable to continue. There are no other rules. No other rules. Kaeldon could kill him, and it would be legal. Fighters ready? Kaeldon spun his staff once and settled into a stance. Ready. Tae-Wan took a breath. Ready. Begin. Kaeldon moved fast, faster than Tae-Wan expected. The staff swung in a blur and caught Tae-Wan in the ribs before he could react. He felt something crack. Pain exploded through his side. He stumbled back. Kaeldon came forward and hit him again, this time in the leg. Tae-Wan went down on one knee. Yield, Kaeldon said. Save yourself the pain. Tae-Wan got up. Kaeldon hit him again and again. Each blow was precise, brutal, designed to cause maximum pain without killing immediately. He was taking his time. He was enjoying it. The Valorians watched in silence. None of them looked away. This was normal for them. This was how disputes were settled. Tae-Wan kept getting up. He could not block the attacks. He could not dodge them. He had no skill, no speed, nothing. But every time he fell, he pushed himself back to his feet. Kaeldon hit him in the face. Blood poured from his nose. He got up. Kaeldon swept his legs and dropped him hard on his back. The impact drove the air from his lungs. He got up. Kaeldon struck his shoulder, his arm, his ribs again. Taiwan could feel his body breaking. He got up. Something was changing in the arena. The Valorians were leaning forward now. Their expressions had shifted. They had come to watch a quick execution. This was not what they expected. Vel-Ira was standing at the railing. Her mask was gone. Her face showed everything: fear, anger, hope. Kaeldon stepped back. He was breathing hard, not from exhaustion, but from frustration. "Why won't you stay down?" he demanded. Taiwan spat blood. "Because she's watching." The words rang out in the silent arena. Kaeldon's face twisted. He raised his staff for a killing blow. "Brother!" Vel-Ira's voice cut through the air. "Stop! Stay out of this. He cannot fight you. Look at him. He can barely stand. There is no honor in this. There is no honor in him." "That is the point." Kaeldon looked at his sister with contempt. "You chose this creature, this weak, pathetic thing. Let this be your lesson." He turned back to Taiwan, staff raised. Taiwan did something strange. He lowered his arms. He straightened his back as much as his broken body would allow. He looked at Kaeldon not with fear, but with something like peace. Then he extended his hand. "I'm not going to fight you," he said. His voice was rough, wet with blood, but clear. "Not anymore." Kaeldon stared at the hand. "What is this?" "It's an offer, peace, partnership." Taiwan coughed. It hurt. Everything hurt. "You can beat me. You can kill me. But that won't prove you're stronger. It'll just prove you're afraid." "Afraid? Of you? Of what I represent? Of change?" Taiwan's hand stayed extended. "Your sister sees something in humans, something your people don't have. Maybe she's wrong. Maybe we're everything you think we are, weak, primitive, worthless. But maybe she's right. Maybe there's strength in being able to reach out to someone who just hurt you. Maybe there's power in forgiveness." The arena was absolutely silent. Kaeldon looked at the hand. His staff was still raised. One swing, and it would be over. No one would stop him. No one would blame him. "This is a trick," he said. "No tricks. I'm just tired of fighting." Taiwan tried to smile. It probably looked terrible. "Take my hand. Let this end. Let something new begin." Kaeldon did not move. His eyes went to Vel-Ira. She was watching, her face full of emotion. Then his eyes went to the crowd. The Valorians were watching too, and their expressions had changed. They were not looking at Taiwan with contempt anymore. They were looking at him with something else, interest, maybe even respect. Here was a human, beaten and broken, offering peace to the one who had beaten him. It was illogical, it was foolish, but it was also something the Valorians had never seen before, something they had no answer for. Kaeldon's staff slowly lowered. His face was unreadable. "You think this changes anything?" he said. "I think it could." A long moment passed. The entire hegemony seemed to be holding its breath. Then Kaeldon stepped back. He did not take Taiwan's hand, but he did not strike either. He turned to the judge. "The trial is complete," he said. His voice was flat. "The human did not yield. He did not lose consciousness. He remains standing." The judge hesitated. "Then the human passes?" Kaeldon looked at Taiwan one more time. Something flickered in his eyes. Not acceptance, but not hatred either. "The human passes," he said. He walked out of the arena without another word. Taiwan's legs gave out. He collapsed to the floor, and suddenly people were all around him. Medical officers, Yuna shouting his name, hands lifting him onto a stretcher. But before they took him away, he saw Vel-Ira. She had come down from the stands. She stood at the edge of the arena, looking at him. She was crying. He had never seen a Valorian cry before. He did not know they could. "You did it," she said. You impossible, stubborn, foolish human! You did it! He tried to answer, but the darkness took him. The last thing he saw was her face. It was worth it. His body was wrapped in bandages and healing gel. The machines around him beeped softly. Everything hurt, but it was a distant hurt, dulled by medication. Yuna was sitting beside his bed. When she saw his eyes open, she burst into tears. "You idiot," she said. "You absolute idiot! I thought you were dead." "Not dead." His voice was rough. "Just broken. 3 cracked ribs, a fractured arm, internal bleeding, and more bruises than I could count. The doctor said a normal person would have quit after the first hit. I'm not normal. Obviously." She wiped her eyes and tried to look angry, but she was smiling. "The whole station is talking about you. The whole galaxy, probably. The human who stood up to a Valorian arbiter and offered him peace." Tae-Wan tried to sit up. Pain stopped him. "Where's Valera?" "She's been here every day. She only left a few hours ago to handle the official stuff." Yuna's smile softened. "She really cares about you. I didn't think Valorians could care like that." "They can. They just don't show it." "She showed it. When you collapsed in the arena, I thought she was going to kill Kael'dan herself." Tae-Wan lay back and stared at the ceiling. He had done it. He had survived the trials, but he still did not know what it meant. The door opened, and Valera walked in. She looked different. Still tall and silver and beautiful, but something had changed. The coldness was gone. Her face was open, vulnerable in a way he had never seen. "You're awake," she said. "Apparently." Yuna stood up. "I'll give you two some privacy." She squeezed Tae-Wan's hand and left the room. Valera came to the bedside. She looked at his bandages, his bruised face, and something tightened in her expression. "I did this to you," she said. "My family, my culture, my brother. This is my fault. You didn't beat me up. Kael'dan did. I put you in his path." Tae-Wan reached out and took her hand. Her skin was cool and smooth, just like before. "I walked into that arena myself. I knew what would happen. I chose it. Why? I still don't understand. You had nothing to prove. You could have walked away." "I had everything to prove." He squeezed her hand. "You took a chance on me. You looked at a human making jokes in a corner and saw something worth choosing. No one's ever done that before. How could I walk away from that?" Valera was quiet. Her dark eyes glistened. "Among my people," she said, "we do not speak of love. We consider it a weakness, an irrationality. We form partnerships based on advantage and compatibility." She paused. "But I do not know another word for what I feel when I look at you." Tae-Wan smiled. It hurt his face, but he smiled anyway. "We have a word for it." "I know. I have studied humans, remember?" She leaned down and pressed her forehead to his, the gesture of trust. He closed his eyes and felt her warmth. "The contract is formalized," she said softly. "You are now part of House Soran. My people will recognize you as my partner. All of them. Most of them." Kael'dan withdrew his objection. "He did not accept you, but he did not condemn you either. For him, that is almost praise." "I'll take it." The next weeks passed in a blur of healing and ceremony. The formal contract between Tae-Wan and Valera was signed in front of human and Valorian witnesses. Commander Bay gave a speech about bridges between worlds. Kael'dan attended but did not speak. News of the Union spread across the galaxy. A human and a Valorian joined in partnership. It had never happened before. Some species laughed, some were confused, but many were interested. If the Valorians, the most proud and isolated species in the galaxy, had accepted a human into a noble house, then maybe humans were more than they seemed. Other species began to reach out. Trade offers, alliance proposals, requests to meet with humans. to understand them better. Humanity's place in the galaxy began to shift. Yuna visited Taiwan in his new quarters aboard the Valorian diplomatic vessel. The rooms were large and elegant, filled with alien art and strange devices. It was not home, but it was becoming familiar. "So this is your life now," Yuna said, looking around. "Living with aliens, flying around the galaxy, being important. I'm still just a translator." "No, you're not. You're a symbol now, the human who stood up for love." She grinned. "They're going to make documentaries about you. I want final approval on the editing." She laughed, and for a moment it felt like old times, before the dinner, before the proposal, before everything changed. "Are you happy?" she asked. Tae-Wan thought about it. He thought about his old life, standing in corners, being invisible. He thought about the trials, the pain, the fear. He thought about Vel-Ira pressing her forehead to his. "Yeah," he said, "I think I am." Vel-Ira found him that evening on the observation deck. Stars stretched out in every direction, thousands of them, millions. The galaxy spread out before them like a map of possibilities. "What are you thinking about?" she asked. "How strange life is. A month ago I was eating meat at a party and making bad jokes. Now I'm married to a Valorian noble and flying through space. Do you regret it?" "Not for a second." She stood beside him, close enough that their arms touched. She was learning human gestures, human closeness. It did not come naturally to her, but she was trying. "My people will not change quickly," she said. "Many of them still think I made a mistake. They will watch you, test you, look for weakness." "I know. You will have to be strong, stronger than you were in the trials. I know that too. But you will not be alone." She took his hand. "I will be beside you. Always." Tae-Wan looked at her. She looked back. Two different species. Two different worlds, finding something in each other that neither expected. "Can I ask you something?" he said. "Anything. When you told me to agree at the dinner that first night, what were you feeling? Really feeling?" Vel-Ira was quiet for a moment. "Hope," she said finally. "I heard your joke, and I felt hope. That maybe I was not alone. That maybe there was someone who could see what I saw." She paused. "Is that foolish?" "No," Tae-Wan said. "That's the most human thing I've ever heard." She smiled. It was still small, still careful, but it was real. "Then perhaps," she said, "I am learning to be human." He kissed her. It was the first time, and it was clumsy and strange and perfect. Behind them, the stars burned on. The galaxy was vast and cold and full of danger. But standing there together, two impossible people from two impossible worlds, it felt a little smaller, a little warmer, a little more like home. The story was just beginning. But for now, this was enough. This was more than enough.